very clearly the sages of Israel ruled that if the treatment can potentially harm a healthy person, you're not allowed to give it to him. If a person is sick, then there's more room to take risks. Because if you don't do anything, he might die anyway. So therefore, there's a risk in not doing anything. But you have no right to take a healthy person and actively perform a medical treatment on him that may kill him, even if a vast majority of the time it will benefit him. He goes on and says, however, now in our generation, until now he was talking about the treatment that they had for the past 100 years, there has become a new, that we have found with God's kindness, interesting, same language that we hear today in reference to the COVID and other shots, and he really believed in this. We had an innovation with God's kindness, a brand new medical treatment that will protect and shield the person from the smallpox illness all the days of his life. V'nikra cowpoxin. It's called cowpox. This is what Jenner found. They already tested this. Was already tested on tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, myriads of people. The kulam yatsu b'shalom. All of them exited this treatment in peace. Every single one. Now again, if this is factually true or not is not relevant. This is the principle that he's working with. This is the information that was given to him, that everybody who had Jenner's cowpox treatment emerged from it safe and sound. Below mace, afilu echad b'chol eilef. The language is not clear enough for you if you want to speculate. Maybe he doesn't mean literally everybody. Here he says literally everybody. Not one person died. They tested it on myriads and myriads of people, and not one of them died from this treatment. Vihi kiros chachmi Yisrael. When the sages of Israel saw that this matter was examined and tested very much. And every day, this medical practice is spreading and being accepted in every country to the ends of the earth and even distant islands. And we didn't hear about or see any damage or harm to any person, adult or child. They saw that this is something that never harms a person. Exactly 0% of the time, Amdu gam ziknei Yisrael. Only then did the elders of Israel get up, and those who hold on to the Torah in this generation, and then they permitted this treatment for all of Israel according to the Torah. The gam livneim, and also to their children and their grandchildren. Then they order they instruct the doctors to do this, to give this treatment to the children. Some of the rabbis even announce this in public and encourage people to take the treatment. And they say to them, that it is a great obligation on every man to do this for his sons and daughters when they are small, before they naturally can contract smallpox on their own, which could be very dangerous. So when they saw that this preemptive measure literally harmed 0 people, that it is spread all over the world, okay? Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people had taken this treatment, and they didn't see or hear about even one person being harmed. Only then did the rabbis get up and say that you have an obligation to do this as a preemptive measure. Yan kichol adam shekvar hayalo kaupakin magit meganu matzuloso shivalo od pakin ativim adalam. Being that everybody who had this cowpox injection was then shielded and protected, that he would never get the natural smallpox forever. So you see that the principle that the rabbis of the time were working with when they allowed the smallpox vaccine, again, whether the information they had was scientifically, factually correct or not, is less relevant than the principle. The principle here is that only when they fully trusted that not one single person had been harmed by this, only then did they allow it. Okay, so nobody can say, the rabbis allowed smallpox vaccines, so they're in favor of all vaccines, and it doesn't matter if some people get harmed along the way. It's for the greater good. It's for public health. If it saves more people than it harms, it's worth it. We can calculate these sorts of things. Absolutely not. This is the principle that the rabbis of the time around the world were working with. If it harms even one person, you are not allowed to give it to a healthy person, period. End of story. Okay, then he goes on and talks about the vaccine itself and how it works. But again, I'll leave that for the scientists, the people who have a greater interest in medicine, to look at it and see whether the facts here were right or wrong. But again, it's the principle that matters. And therefore, since the facts that we're working with today are very different, it's very clear that these shots do harm and even kill healthy people. Based on this principle, they should be forbidden. This is a checkmate source. Now, it gets even worse. it gets even worse, because if I know this source, I guarantee you other people know this source as well. And if any rabbi in the world wants to argue and say, okay, you saw something in a sefer, maybe a gadol believed in this, maybe a lot of great rabbis believed in this, but I have evidence to the contrary, that the Torah would mandate that, let's say, 3% of people would be killed from the shots, but 97% would be saved, and therefore that would be acceptable. The burden of proof is on that rabbi, first of all, but second of all, he must contend with this source. He must say, I am aware of this source. Okay, this is a very valid Torah source. It's very interesting. However, I am ruling differently because of all these other sources that I have that I believe are stronger than this source. That may be acceptable, but the fact is that not one of the rabbis, to the best of my knowledge, and I saw a lot of material during the COVID era, not one rabbi who urged people or mandated people to take these shots even acknowledged that this source exists, that this historical precedent where the rabbis examined after an injection was given to millions of people, potentially, it talks about myriads, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people were taking these injections, and they needed to certify that not one of them, they didn't hear or see that one person was even harmed. Only then did they authorize the shots. They don't even bring this up. If they're honest people, they need to give you all of the information from the Torah, not just quote you a pasuk that's important to save people's lives, which is a very nice concept, but that's all it is. It's a concept. It's not a legal principle. It's just a concept. Yes, we try to save lives, but in law, you have to outline these things, right? You have to define these things and have boundaries and nuance. They didn't do any of that. The fact that they didn't even bring this source up, okay, or any similar source, shows that they are not honest people and they can't be trusted. Okay, very important. Please share this with people, because the more people you wake up, that's how things change. I don't want to talk to just an echo chamber. I want Dafka to the people who hear this to share it with other people, and let these other rabbis, if they have evidence on their side, let them be forced to contend with this source and present stronger evidence. I strongly suspect that they will not be willing to do so if they're even able to do so, which also is very, very telling. Okay, second.